let's talk percentages, percentage change. These things we need to be able to do to be able to interpret our data and make informed decisions. So let's have a little look-see at what we can talk about here. First of all, what is a percent? Let's just go back from the beginning to remind ourselves. So really, percent means out of 100. All right, so what we're saying is it boils down to a whole of something. So a whole circle is 100%. Okay, the everything of an amount. If you have everything, you have 100%. And we can go from there. So half a circle, very simply, is 50%. All right, and that's because percent, 100 out of 100 is 1. You've got everything. 50%, 50 per 100 is a half. You've got half of something. 25% would therefore be a quarter. And of course, we can do that as well. So 25% out of 100, if we simplify that, we get 1/4. Okay, so really what we're saying is as a fraction out of 100. That's what we're going for here with fractions. Now, what we want to do is also convert percentages into decimals, and that's very easy. We just divide it by 100. It is out of 100. So 68%, 68 divided by 100 is 0.68. And really what we're doing here, 7%, right, 7.0%, is we are essentially moving the decimal place 2 spaces to the left. So we end up here with 0.07 as a decimal. 11.1%, we are dividing that by 100, which means moving the decimal place 2 spaces to the left. So we have 0.111 as our decimal and 2.343434. All right, 2.3 recurring, 4 recurring. Percent is 0.02234. Finding a percentage of a number, what we are going to do is we are going to do percentage into decimal. We're not going to muck about with fractions. We need to be quick and efficient. We're going to turn our percentage into a decimal and multiply that by the number. So if I want 10% of 67, I am going to turn the 10% into 0.10, multiply that by 67 and get 6.7. 40% as a decimal is 0.40 if you want. Multiply that by 120 to get 48. Now I'm aware some of these you can do as fractions as well. 25% is a quarter, but we are going to get one method that is going to carry us through all of this. So 25% is 0.25. Multiply by 24, we get 6. 72%, now we are getting into the realms of I might actually need a calculator, and that's okay. So 0.72 multiplied by 36 to get 25.92. We're going to keep our calculator here. And this also works for percentages bigger than 100. So 165% is 1.65. Multiply that by 120. 1.65 multiplied by 120. That is 198. And even bigger ones, 202% is 2.02. Multiply that by our 390. 2.02 multiplied by 390. 787.8. So that's our simplest way that we are going to go about taking percentages of numbers. Now we can look at percentage increase or decrease. The easiest way is to go, your starting amount is 100%. What do you have afterwards? And then we're going to do our decimal and multiply. So what do I mean by that? If I want to increase something by 12%, well, if you start at 100% and you increase it by 12%, you end up with 112% of something. Now we just, how about we start with A? Now all we need to do is do 112% of 250. So 1.12 multiplied by 250. 1.12 multiplied by 250 to give 280. B, we are increasing something by 52%, so we go from 100% to 152%. So why am I keep writing F? That is interesting. Way to go, brain. So we're going to go 1.52, having that as a decimal, multiplied by 92. That is 139.84. And this also increased by 142%, all right? So we start at 100% and we increase by 142%. We end up with 242%, all right? I have increased that by 142%. So we go 2.42, having that as a decimal, multiplied by 0.25. 2.42 multiplied by 0.25. 0.605. Now, if I want to decrease by 24% like in D, I need to lose 24% from my 100%, so I end up with 76%. We have that as a decimal, 0.67, multiply that by 115, 0.76, multiplied by 115, to get 87.4. So it's all about being quite systematic here. If I want to decrease by 0.5%, I'm at 100%. I want to decrease by 0.5%. That leaves me with 99.5%. So write that as the decimal, 0.995, multiply that by 12, because we are decreasing 12, 0.995 multiplied by 12, 11.94. Decrease by 98%. I want to remove 98% from 100. That will leave me with 2%. As a decimal, that's 0.02. Multiply that by 1,250. To get 25. So this is how we can find percentage increase and decreases. Now, a percentage change. Really, we want to find out how we are going from the old to the new. So the real thing is it's new divided by old. If you remember anything, it's old. So really what we are trying to do is, because we are going from old times by that decimal and we end up the new one. So what we are looking for is to rearrange that to find what is that multiplier that we are doing. So the percentage change from 120 to 170. So 120 is the old. So we're going to do 170 divided by 120. This is therefore a calculatory sort of a thing. 170 divided by 120. We get 1.417. So that is 141.7%. So what is the percentage change? That is a 41.7% increase. We are just working backwards from what we were doing last time. Percentage change from 225, from 250 to 225. So 225 divided by 250. New divided by old. We get 0.9, which is 90%. So we have gone from 100% to 90%, which is a 10% decrease. All right, so here I've said new divided by old minus 1 minus 1, or we can do it in percentages and then take away 100%. That's completely up to you. You could also just do what I'm doing, which is minus 100%. Okay, but really we are trying to find that change. So we find out what the multiplier is, what percentage do we end up with at the end, and then we can find what the difference is. Now, if you want, we could, instead of doing the minus 100 at the end, or minus 1, depending if you're in decimals or percentage, we could find the change first. So 54 to 46, that is 54 to 46 is we've gone down by 8. Divide that by the old. Minus 8 divided by 54 is minus 0.148, and that is minus 14.8%. So that is a 14.8% decrease. So you can find the overall multiplier, then remove 100%, or you could find the change first and then find that as a percentage, whatever brings you joy. From 45 to 112, so I'm going to go 112. I'm going to demonstrate a few different variants on this. So new divided by old, 112 divided by 45, 2.489. And this time I will subtract 1 first, take away 1 to get 1.489. So that is 148.9% increase. Okay, because we've ended up at 248%, that is 148% increase. From 360 to 100, let's do that as well. 100 over 360. Which is 0.278. Let's take away 1 from that and see what happens. Minus 0.722. So that is a 72.2% decrease, because we have gone from 100% to 27.8%. We're going from 1,250 to 1,000. Again, let's do it in in a different way as well. We're going to do the change, which is minus 250, divide that by 1,250. You need to get this the correct way around. The main thing is, whichever way around you do this, is we are dividing by old. Silly boy. At this point, I had the answer in my head, minus 0.2. So that is a 20% decrease. All right, so we can just do new divided by old and then figure out what the percentage change is from there. So find out what the new percentage is, find it as an increase or a decrease that we did in A or B and C. You could subtract 1, then turn into percentages, or you can turn into percentages and subtract 100%. That's absolutely fine. Or we could look at the difference and then find that as a percentage. Dealer's choice. Now we're just going to touch on reverse percentages here. And the idea is that I know what the new percentage is and the new price, right? So again, it's old times something. Now what would we have multiplied those? So we've got a shirt is reduced by 20% in the sale, and in the sale it's 16%. Now that 16%, if it was reduced by 20%, that is 80%. That sale price is actually 80%. So we've done old multiplied by 0.8 gives me 16. All right, because this £16 is the sale price. Now we started at 100%, you reduce that by 20%, the sale price is 80%. So my multiplier is 0.8, which tells me the old price was £20. After taking the My Headspace Easter Revision course, Neil's grade increased by 352%. He got 243 out of 250 after the revision course. What was his score before the course? I'm going to change this to a 252%. So that 243, his old grade, was increased by 252%. So the multiplier would be times 3.52 because that 243 is 352%. So his old grade is 69 marks out of 250. So there we go. Slight little change there to make the number more feasible. And that is our crash course in percentages.